Well, I'm not making any promises. We'll aim for a shorter one though. Well, let's have yeah, a quicker one. But there was some big football that we need to dissect, digest. Well, we've digested it by now. So we do these second ones a bit later, but yeah, two huge games midweek. Oh, you take. Well, I think I know. Well, I don't know how you want to do it actually. So I'm yeah, yeah, all right. What a pair of goals, but yeah, that one, the move as well before. Yeah, yeah. Bozza Bozza wasn't too happy with the goalkeeping. Boz was going. He wasn't going off. He was just saying, "Look, I might want my goalkeeper to save that," because he was saying he was always told if it hits like the back of the net, your goalkeeper hasn't really done his job. It's got to go side netting. But I don't know. Maybe it was quite central, but it was hit so hard. But what Bozza was also saying, which yeah, what I agreed with Bozza was Ruben Diaz was already covering the far post, so Edison should have already been hedging his bets towards that side of the goal. So it was hit so well. I love the move to get the goal as well, and I like how you're going chronologically through here. So I won't stop you, but I like where you've started with the first portion of this game. Well, the trademark of particularly Ancelotti's 13-14 Real Madrid team was, I think it was a bit more drilled than this team, but it was those rotations that you're speaking about between the winger, the fullback, and the central midfielder. And I thought it was interesting because you haven't got to the second half, I'm guessing yet, but I'm interested. Yeah, I am interested to get your viewpoint on the second half. But yeah, I just wanted to say like these players would understand those so well. They understand, and yeah, I like where you're going with this. And before I go, yeah, I don't think I saw the ball travel to the net. I think I just heard the net do the little, the, and it was just like, whoa. Yeah, that's what I feel like it was. Yeah, it just pulled it. Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, no, I know, it's a perfect, like, low eye, and he sort of, like, hits down on it, and he hits down on it so hard that it just, like, boom, and it's, like, slowly rising, but it's traveling at such a speed that, like, it's never gonna rise much further than it did. Of just Oh, and he bent it a little bit as well, just started it a little bit outside the post. Like, even a goalkeeper as good as Thibaut Courtois, who denied him earlier as well with that amazing save where he sort of hurt his hand, but even he wasn't getting anywhere near it. And it was perfect for a goalkeeper that tall because he takes a split second longer to get down to that. No chance. Bozza had no complaints about that one. That one was a fair goal. Oh, man. It did, the Camavinga ball, yeah. I think it might have been, yeah. Oh, some of Benzema's hold-up play in the first half was unreal. His instant control is just something else. Yeah. It was, yeah, it felt like in boxing, the last round where both fighters feel like they've done enough to win the fight on points, and they're just very cautious, like, "Let's see this out to the end." Um, so yeah, but I wanna go into what you were talking about in the match, and then I guess I'll lead to some more individual performances because yeah, I don't want to like bury Camavinga because he features prominently on both sides. We already talked about the bad, but there was he did he was, and when you take age into consideration as well, it's crazy to think how I just as an aside on Camavinga, I thought he's not quite in like the Pedri, Musiala, maybe even Many, that sort of class of that young crop of midfielders. I thought he was maybe one rung below, but him as a left back, he could be one of the best in the world as a left back. He still could be one of the best in the world as a central midfielder as well. To be fair, given his age, but yeah, I love what they're doing with him at left back. I was never a fan of Ferland Mendy, and I think this guy is a great improvement on that. In terms of what you do with your ceiling, maybe Mendy's a bit better defensively, but anyway, in terms of what you said in the game, I thought you summed up the first half perfectly because Real Madrid are back in the days when I used to analyze football, like with taking notes and stuff. It was the first 20 to 30 minutes was pretty much all I focused on because that's where you'll see most of your tactical things. And then I always thought after that you might see one or two things, but the return you'll get from the next 60 minutes isn't worth like analyzing and painstakingly. It more comes down to what the players are going to do, and as we saw in this second half as well, there's a 10-15 minute period after half time where you can see some different sort of tweaks on it. We definitely saw that in this game, and surprisingly from Real Madrid, which was the weird one. But yeah, in terms of but with Real Madrid, they make you throw it all out of the window. The first 20 minutes, they almost just throw it away. Anfield is the prime example. I was so happy feeling them out, just feeling them out. Yeah, yeah, and they sort of, and it's it's not an odd tactic. They were fortunate that they had all three of the second legs at the Bernabeu last season, didn't they? Which is a good stroke of luck to get you to the final. Now, I think it's always more of a dilemma what you do if your home leg is the first leg, because how much of your hand do you want to give away? And obviously, they didn't care that they were at home because they were willing to give away the ball, give away the game for the first 20 minutes. Manchester City absolutely dominated them. But the thing is, it wasn't not exactly by design from Real Madrid. I'm sure they would have wanted to do a little bit better in the first 20 minutes, maybe get out a little bit. And Manchester City were playing an extremely high level at that point, especially with the press, and they really suffocated Real Madrid. So I don't want to be remiss and say, Real Madrid were playing them into a trap because Man City were playing very well for the first 20 minutes. And on another day, Haaland might have had one, maybe even two with that header that he sort of feebly puts back into Courtois' hands. Maybe he could do better. Maybe he could Dortmund fly kick that on another day or something. But he definitely had that chance where he put it straight into his hands from the De Bruyne pass. But then, yeah, you were waiting. It was 20 minutes, and it's like, all right, Real Madrid, we know how they do it because exactly like you said, they're reactionary. They're going to have a look at what the opponents are doing. They're going to assess it. They're going to assess it on the fly because it feels like that's the kind of confidence Ancelotti has in these players. And why the hell wouldn't you have that kind of confidence in these players? I was fascinated that they went with Kroos as the lone holding midfielder. I thought that was bold, to say the least. I don't know. Maybe that was a reason why they couldn't get out as much because they could never press a little bit higher due to his immobility. But all in all, I thought he was pretty sturdy in that role. And then I guess they wanted Chouameni to be the impact sub that maybe Camavinga was last season, in particular. So he came on for the last 20 or so minutes. But yeah, it was definitely that feeling out process, and then they started to hit one or two on the counter in particular because Benzema and Vinny. I think to your point, they're the best. They're the best duo to watch. I love the way they move through the gears going forward. I love that even it's sort of like, to use a basketball term, even in the half pitch, I guess, sets where they push a team back, they're still clever enough with their movement to break that down, and they can be absolutely lethal on a counter attack. They can hurt you both ways, which is obviously really scary. And we saw glimpses of it with Vinny getting away a couple of times down the line, and then the goal, like you say, spectacular. But then the second half, I thought the start of the second half was the most fascinating part of this game because you say Real Madrid were almost getting too comfortable. If I could offer a counter narrative to that, I think they were. They came out to the second half with a desperation, maybe that we expected to see in the first half. And maybe that was a tactical design. That would be interesting because, obviously, if we come out at the start of the game with this great desperation, great intensity because we're at home, Manchester City are going to expect that and they're going to meet that, and then it becomes harder. But maybe if we feel them out, as we say, for that first half, and then we hit them in the second half, they're not as expecting it in the same way. And I thought Real Madrid were battering them for that 15-minute spell, and man, it was so almost ironic to watch the way they were doing it with the inverted fullbacks because Camavinga and Carvajal were inverted, but they weren't being asked to play. It was like you say, those rotations. Modric in particular dropping into that left back slot over and over again and allowing Camavinga not to make an overlapping run, but he would just dart straight through the middle of the pitch and make a run like in behind the defense from there. And I thought Real Madrid was like, wow, Real Madrid playing with. I haven't seen Real Madrid in this iteration play with that kind of energy that they played with for the first 15 minutes. So I sensed a real desperation. They'd been given the gift of a beautiful goal by Vinny in the first half. They were really wanted to go and make it two in that first 15, 20 minute spell of the second half. Because you got to think when your fullbacks are trying to make runs like that, how energy consuming that is. So I think that maybe gives us a bit of understanding why Camavinga made the mistake when he made the mistake. And ultimately, City are a supremely fit team, so they weather that storm. Kind of like Liverpool Villarreal last season in the semi-final. Manchester City are able to weather the storm that Real Madrid throw, and then it's just that one moment, and they have the quality. And we're going to talk about Haaland because he will win all the awards for Manchester City this season. But in terms of importance, I think it's still Kevin De Bruyne who's the number one guy. And that kind of goes against my rules in saying that because Haaland is now a 50 goal in a season striker, which is almost like the benchmark. That is like you are, like no one else can have any claim to be the best player in that team. And maybe Haaland still is the best player, but in terms of importance, it's Kevin De Bruyne who's popping up with the goals. The goal at the Emirates, the goal at the Etihad, both against Arsenal, the first goals in those games. And then obviously such a crucial goal in this tie to come out of the Bernabeu 1-1 with Pep saying it all week, everything will be decided in Manchester. Everything will be decided in Manchester. He's got it exactly where he wanted it. Fair play to their fitness levels in particular in that second half of Manchester City. Fair play to the dilemma that they offer teams in terms of the overloads they were getting. Obviously, Stones moving into midfield was working in this, and I don't think Real Madrid could quite solve it out as quickly as they wanted to as well, which led to that dominant spell at the start of the game. So, all in all, I'd say maybe I feel like Real Madrid maybe did enough to win this game. for that second half in particular. I really liked what they did in the second half. But alas, these two teams are, as Pep expected, and I guess as most of us expected, very evenly matched. Yeah, I thought they got tired. That's my counter sort of thing. Just because of that desperation they try to put in that second half. Well, I'm interested. I want to ask you, I guess, further on this point. Do you think if what I laid out was in fact the game plan for Real Madrid, do you think that it was advised to go with a game plan like that, where they're going to put in a lot of their sort of tactical wrinkle in the second half and play with that intensity that they did to start the second half? Given that they played in a completely different way in the first half and were 1-0 up, would it maybe have been more productive to continue playing the way you played in the first half, continue being solid, and then continue to look for those counter-attacking moments? I'm just fascinated. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. If they felt that way, and if they I think if they felt comfortable in this game, that's a massive oversight, because even if they were feeling out Manchester City was still on top of them. And I felt that first 20 minutes I thought was too far. I didn't think Real Madrid did that by design. I think Manchester City were sort of inflicting that, even though, yes, Real Madrid came out a bit cautious. So if they ever lulled themselves into a sense of thinking they were 2 or 3-0 up in this game, the game never. I never read I didn't think Real Madrid ever had that kind of dominance on this game. But I did find it interesting, particularly the first half as well. Why I asked that question was, we've been talking so much about, particularly in those Arsenal games, which have been probably Manchester City's most important games up until this one. How Manchester City were not a possession team in those games. They were, in fact, a pressing team. They would be about 50-50 in terms of percentage. That first half, I think they had 70 or something percent of the ball. So I was thinking maybe that was part of Real Madrid's thinking as well, if they'd seen that same thing and they wanted to, like we sort of alluded to, maybe trap Manchester City into being that possession based team. So I guess, look, I'm torn. I liked what Real Madrid did ultimately. I'm not going to criticize them for it, but I do also see there might be value in maybe they should have just continued with the reactionary style of the first half and just gone about counter-attacking because I think it definitely wasn't as counter-attacking that football at the start of the second half. Yeah, so exactly. And again, that's where Manchester City hit you because that's where they're best. It's not. We've been fooled into thinking Pep teams are all about possession. Well, to be fair, I think this is the most. Uh, I don't know how to put it, but like away from that possession-based Pep style that we've ever seen him go. This, yeah, yeah, definitely, and it suits Haaland and De Bruyne. They're so lethal in those situations. Nah, that's not going to happen. But for these big games, it definitely is the evolution that we've seen. And again, it's a moment, like Manchester City have been saying, like Bernardo said after the last round, where we want to become more of a moments team. We know we don't have to dominate the whole game. We got to dominate those moments, and they've done it again. They've changed their identity. And fair play to them. It's not as good to watch as previous iterations of Pep teams, but it's as admirable to watch for sure. Kev, what a player! Um, I'll give a quick take. I think it'll be City just for that home ground advantage. They've put themselves in a great position by getting that goal. If it was 1-0 Real Madrid, that's a much tougher question, but it's still a tough question. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and I would not be surprised in any way if Real Madrid went through, but I just think for home ground advantage, I think it's given that they're playing even, it'll be Manchester City. That's what yeah. That's fair. I don't remember. We'll do more of that on the preview, though, for sure. No one. So City must go. Re- Rebic plays for AC is a very loose term, though. But that's your perfect segue, isn't it? Yeah. Well, if you're an Inter fan, it was a very exciting match. I think that's not the adjective you'd be using if you're a Milan fan. I think painful would be more apt. Well, go on, but I might say something on that point about did they just show up or not. Yeah, but we can't say that for sure though, because everything that we are saying about this game is built on the foundation that AC did not have Rafael Leao available for this game. That's well, it's not just that too. That is AC Milan's whole team this season. Honestly, Rafael Leao. That's the whole reason that they're at this point of the Champions League. To be quite honest, I mean, Tio kind of helped in the Tottenham leg, but for me, it's been the Rafael Leao show. And the reason I took issue of when you said my team didn't show up, if you're a Milan fan, maybe this is just what Milan are. Milan did show up for this game because this season Milan have not been very good. I got to say, and I think it's a bit of a shame that they are here instead of Napoli. But the football or the karma gods gave them the gift of the Osimhen injury in the first leg, and then they took it away in this because they've taken Rafael Leao away, and they may just have taken Milan's chances of getting through away. It depends if you can get 100% Rafael Leao in the second leg. It might not even matter because Inter now have the ability to sit back a little bit deeper and not allow him to ever have the freedom to run in behind or the space to do any of the damage that he normally does. So look, I hate going in this hard because I do think Milan have some really good players. I can't blame Pioli completely for what happened in this leg, but I think he should shoulder a bit of blame because the worst thing I can say, and this is to be expected because they didn't have Rafael out. Again, I feel like this is going to come up a lot while we're talking about this game. But Pioli, he lost the tactical battle in every way. Inter got whatever they wanted tactically in this game. They killed them with the wingbacks. The wingbacks were never exposed in 2v1s, and again, that's a different story if you can get Rafael Leao on the pitch because Denzel Dumfries doesn't see Salamakers behind him when he goes on an overlapping run. He sees Rafael Leao and he thinks, well, maybe I shouldn't make this overlapping run and create this overload in the forward areas, which was just tearing Milan apart. DeMarco on the other side doing the same. The Milan centre backs were always pinned against Dzeko and Lautaro. And look, I said it. I felt it should have been Lukaku to start going in this game. Well, it shows you what I know because that first goal from Dzeko was man of the match for me. He was outstanding in this game. Always occupied Tamori, got the better of him so often. Payera the same, occupied by Lautaro on the other side. So it was that's what I mean when they got everything they wanted because they killed him in the midfield as well. That inter midfield is infinitely better, even without Brozovic. That was a decision that surprised me. That it was Çalhanoğlu and Mkhitaryan. Yeah, it was a weird one. I thought it was a weird one, but he likes Mkhitaryan, Inzaghi. I don't know why, but he scored in this game as well. Bozza wasn't happy with Mike Mignon for that one as well. He went down. I kind of felt the same. I think with a play. Yeah, I think with a player like Henrik Mkhitaryan, it's like, all right, I'm going to make sure you have to put this in a corner. I'm not going to give anything away. And Mignon kind of, yeah, and I don't even know if Mkhitaryan was trying to do that. I got to say, but anyway, he scores a goal. He had a pretty good game. His industry was needed in there. Well, Inter were completely on top at that point, and obviously they didn't even need a great Barella game, even though he was pretty good. They had the beauty of bringing Brozovic on later in the match as well. So yeah, Inter got it in the midfield. They got it from the front two, occupying the centre backs, and they got it from the wing backs because they had nothing to worry about in terms of who even started on the right wing in the first half, because it was Salamakers on the left wing, and it was Diaz through the middle, wasn't it, as a 10? And yeah, I can't even remember who. So, yeah, it was Benacer as the 10. So Brahim was playing as the right winger, and then yeah, for Messias comes on second half. So, and then they got a little bit more joy. He's not a very good player, Junior Messias, but at least he's a little bit more of a winger and he runs in behind a bit. So there was a little bit of a question. DeMarco got caught once or twice going forward. Inter, I think, will be obviously very happy. But honestly, 2-0 against AC Milan without Rafael Leao, I think is par for the course. Honestly, I think they're that impotent when they don't have Rafael Leao. They're exactly what we saw in this game, to be quite honest. Now, the second half was a little bit better, but Inter was so comfortable. Inter still had the better chances in the second half. And honestly, I think they'd be a little they did have a couple of chances. Tonali hit the post, yeah, but that Dzeko one-on-one that Mignon saved was I think, the best chance of the second half, yeah. So they'll be maybe a little disappointed that they didn't completely put this thing out of Milan's hands, but yeah, honestly, when we were doing those percentages, remember, about if they don't have Rafael Leao, even just for the first leg, and I went up to 43 in the end because of the home ground advantage. Well, I should have stuck at 38 because that's how poor Milan are without that guy. And yeah, Pioli, like once Leao's out, you've got to try something. Maybe even put Tio Hernandez into central midfield. But you've got to Tio Hernandez all of a sudden needs to become your most important offensive player, and he never had a chance just playing as a left back. Well, that's yeah. I want to counter that because I think it might because you can play more defensive when you have the threat of Rafael Leao there all the time, and even so, then it gives the opposition the choice to make. Do we want to take this extra space you're giving us and push you under a bit more pressure? And why that makes them more defensively solid is because they're so much more compact. So I think that AC Milan midfield is actually a pretty good midfield when you play like you did against Napoli, when you're never expected to be the aggressive team. Napoli are always going to outplay you footballing wise, so you can just say, well, we're just going to sit back. And then Rafael Leao gets out on the break and he kills you. So I think, mm, yeah, yeah. No, I think that definitely, like I said, the having the first leg as a home leg always poses a big conundrum for that home manager, I think. And yeah, I think the only way that they thought they could hurt them was by playing more. playing more like they did last season. In fact, in terms of pressing, try to press higher up the pitch, try and go man for man. The problem is, I think Inter have the better players throughout that whole spine, pretty much. The midfield, Inter's midfield for me is particularly in technical terms, infinitely better than that Milan midfield. That Milan midfield is, if you ask them to play with possession, they're not very good. Krunic, Benacer, and Tonali create very little. I think they're all pretty defensive midfielders. So yeah, Inter now they obviously had that option. They were pinning the set. But the other point I wanted to make on the Leao, not only can you adopt that game plan where you sit off and maybe you feed the home fans just through the excitement of having him on the counter attack. That's enough to get them and not have them on your back, you know. But it's also the way Leao tilts the opposition game planning, because Inter, there's no way Inter want to dominate and I guess go as not gung ho, but they were pushing those wing backs on and on in that first half because they had nothing to worry about. They never had a single thing to worry about behind them. Like Salamakers and Brahim Diaz are the players who are tasked to hurt us in behind. And even if they try to, we still have three centre backs, so we outnumber you back there. Oh, and I guess I should mention Olivier Giroud, who has absolutely no pace and must play next to someone who has some pace. When you look at his partnership with Kylian Mbappe and now Rafael Leao, so yeah, man, this one was not surprising. I think even when we were looking at it, and it's crazy to think in terms of, is there a player who has more of an impact on their team than Rafael Leao? To be quite honest, his absence, I can't think of too many. I guess we haven't really had to see Real Madrid without Vinny, but Rodrigo is a pretty good replace. Yeah, well, yeah, and you've still got Benzema there. So Olivier Giroud, he might be a French striker, but he's no Karim Benzema. So yeah, man, like I don't know. I think he might. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But they did all right with him out a little bit. But yeah, to use a basketball term, his VORP is off the charts. His value over his replacement is crazy because AC were terrible in this game. There's not. I don't think there should be. He's 2-0 2-0 with 90 minutes. There's still a chance, even if Rafael Leao's not there, and especially because Inter have been one thing up until this point of the season, and that has been inconsistent. Now, just because they're on a nice little run here and they're really generating momentum, doesn't mean we can all of a sudden forget what they've been for this whole season. So there's also a chance that Inter don't quite show up the same way they did in the first leg. That possibly is clutching at straws if you're a Milan fan. But yeah, this two goal lead gives them that option to say you've got Rafael Leao back. We don't want to give you any space at all for him to operate. But that does bring the qualities of Olivier Giroud into the game, and we might see him because if you want to be pinned a bit further back, then we can go a bit more direct, which 100% suits Milan down to the ground. They do not want to be playing possession football because they're not very good at it. And then we can get Theo Hernandez underlapping and joining in as well and crashing the box at certain opportunities. So you do have that conundrum, and that's why, while I might bagmouth him at times, Giroud is still effective if he does have that speedy partner because they put the defense on tilt so that Giroud can sort of thrive at what he does and being a pest and being a physical menace in the box. So, and a pretty good finisher in the box as well. So that brings him more into the game. So Inter have that conundrum going forward if that's what they want to do. Well, we assume they do. We got to see. All reports suggest that Leao will be back, but will he be back? Will he be back, or will he be awesome and back from the quarterfinals? That remains to be seen. So he's still good enough to break down a defense himself because he's definitely added that to his game this season. I think particularly the delivery and the finishing, I think, has improved this season. So there's no doubt they have a better chance with him in the team. 2-0 is still a precarious lead. Inter, yeah, we feel confident about him now. Should we? That might still be a lingering question as well. So this thing isn't over, but Inter are definitely in the driver's seat after the first leg. I agree. Yeah, I'd agree. And it's interesting. We'll wrap it here. We don't need to go too in depth with this because we might not get a chance out further down the road. But if you're Manchester City in particular, which of these teams would you rather meet in the final? Me too. I think Inter might possibly be as bad, maybe even a worse matchup for them than Real Madrid. Honestly, it's hard to say worse because Real Madrid's quality, but tactically the way Inter play, I don't think Guardiola's ever fancied going up against a 5-3-2. I don't think he's ever liked it. I remember when Nuno used to play a 5-3-2 for Wolves. I think they did the double over him a couple of seasons ago. So, yeah, and that system is always. It might have been Leon that were playing the 5-3-2 in 2020 in the Lisbon bubble season. I think Guardiola matched up with that 5-3-2. It's always flummoxed him a little bit. So, just looking forward, if Inter get there, if Manchester City get there. I don't think he's ever fancied facing a 5-3-2 and Inter under Simone Inzaghi, who is still proving that he's quite a good manager. Yeah, I think that could cause him problems, particularly if we continue to see this Inter, the Inter we expected to see at the start of the season. So just a little watch this space. I would actually love, for all those pretty much reasons I just said, to see Manchester City Inter. Because the Inter Real would be a great game. I'd love to see that. That's easily second. But oh, I don't know. If Rafael Leao's fit, with the two most winning clubs in the thing, I think that would actually be a good one as well. I don't think we can lose, to be quite honest, with any of the matchups, but. We will lose if Rafael Leao's not fit for AC because I definitely don't want to see him if he's not available. Please. Yeah, into Manchester City though for that tactical dilemma. I think. Well, I don't know if it's the most glamorous, but it's the one I'd be most interested in seeing. I think. Off the top of my head, I don't think he has nothing memorable. Hmm. Yeah, that'd be. There was also, on a side note, and I found this really fascinating. There was also in the pregame they said Milan is the only city in Europe that you can go and both the clubs there are multiple Champions League winners. So just I should have said that at the start of this whole thing, but just a segue in. But I thought that was a fun stat. London doesn't. It's only Chelsea, isn't it? Am I? Yeah, it's only Chelsea with two. Yeah, Forest Villa. They're the British clubs who got one. Yeah, exactly. They need to win a couple. Yeah, yeah. I did sort of not as intensely as the Champions League games, but I still watch them. Yeah, right. Yeah, you need to make it more catchy. Trophy different season, yeah. The European ladder. That's what he's trying to climb up, basically. Do they? 5 years' time, they'll be in the Premier League. There you go. You've given them the good luck charm. Feels right. I don't, yeah. Yeah, you'd go to Europe. Yeah. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have on footballing merit. On mental merit, fair enough. I think they've instilled something. I don't know. That's good. I guess it's Roma's maybe redeeming quality is that mental toughness. I gotta be honest, I can't stand watching Roma. But I don't want to take anything away from Mourinho because I do actually like Mourinho, and I think my feeling is that they'll win the Europa League. To be quite honest, for that the experience of the manager in these situations now. They think maybe top four might potentially be gone after the results last weekend, so they might put more eggs in this basket. It was positive to see Dybala and Wijnaldum come on late in this game, so they might be available second leg for this run in as well. So they might get some much needed squad depth for the coming weeks if they do want to keep going for both. Um, they're whatever. They are a team who they are. They roll around on the ground too much. They complain to the referees far too much. they're a terrible watch. But they, because of Mourinho and because of what you were saying, they always give you a storyline. So yeah, I don't think Leverkusen and Xabi Alonso are quite ready to win this tournament. I think they're still a little soft at times. They still give away chances, even if they're the better team in games. And I thought the way they started this game was really strong. Florian Wirtz and Musa Diaby were heavily involved early on. I think that Andrich Palacios midfield partnership is working quite well, but it's hard to say. Maybe Hincapie becomes a really good defender, but I never trust it when they have Kasunu and Tapsoba at the back there. Even Jonathan Tah isn't quite trustworthy for me. I don't know how you fix that, but given the shortage that we always talk about of those centre backs who change your fortunes. I guess that's why he plays three at the back. So yeah, my feeling is Roma will go through. My feeling is that because I don't think the Bay Arena gives that intimidating an atmosphere for Roma to have to go away to. So I don't think that will be a huge factor. Now Leverkusen are a good enough footballing team to beat Roma and force extra time or even win it outright. So all things are still possible here, but yeah, they're one step closer, Roma. They're my eyes are no more thankful for having to watch them anymore, but here we are yet again, Mourinho, semi-finals of a European competition. Yeah, yeah, last minute. Yeah, yeah, that's severe. That's severe in the Europa League. Yeah. Now I gave up on Sevilla a long time ago in terms of watching them, but in terms of what I have seen from that point, given their Europa League exploits, I thought this was easily their most impressive. I thought they were unlucky not to get away with a win. Juve came out strong as well. I don't know. They looked they were playing in a different gear, Juve, for the first 20 minutes, so it looked like they were up for it. Now, whether that motivation declined when they looked up into the stands and saw empty seats for I know it's a Europa League. I know Juve think they're better than that, but it's still a semi final. It's still your last home game of European competition for the season, and it's still maybe as viable a route into next season's Champions League, given how tight it is up the top four of Serie A. I think they'll be all right in top four, but also we don't know exactly what's happening with the 15 points. They could still be taken away. It's only suspended at the moment. It's not completely revoked. So yeah, they'll be disappointed with that. They'll be disappointed that they were pretty much largely outfought by Sevilla. I thought Sevilla were winning the individual battles. I thought they were just getting on top in terms of intensity, and that's why I say it was Sevilla's best performance of the season. I thought they were quite controlled as well. Rakitic, obviously, looking a bit like the Rakitic of old as well. But yeah, so I was reasonably impressed with what I saw from Sevilla, and like you say, you're not gonna ride out Sevilla for winning this trophy, especially when we're at the semi-final stage right now. So, as much as I said, it feels like Roma will win it. You do make a good point, and I need to take more consideration when saying that when Sevilla is still here. But it does feel like they're, well, I wouldn't say heavy, but nearly heavy favourites to go through this semi now, because the atmosphere they get back at the Sanchez Pizjuan for these games is crazy. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Yeah, Yeah. You just Yeah, you just gotta specify that it's Europa League Sevilla. It's not League Sevilla, it's not Champions League Sevilla. It's just this version of them in this competition. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I would still love Leverkusen, but I don't think we're gonna bit of Mourinho. I'm a little I'm a little in there's 2 in the Premier League I'm a little interested in. I'm interested in the early kickoff, which is soon, with Newcastle going to Ellen Road. I think that's a really important game, obviously, for both teams. Obviously, on quality, you expect Newcastle to win it, but Ellen Road is a pretty intimidating place. So let's see what Big Sam can do. And that's always an added factor when you're tuning into a game, even though the team might not be great to watch. But what's he got to say? Who knows? I'm interested for that one because I think United should beat Wolves at home, given their good home form. So in terms of any top four race, which I'm still putting quotation marks on that, maybe Newcastle might slip up at Ellen Road. Maybe there's a possibility, and I'm more fascinated to be honest because I still think Newcastle should win that game. But City going to Everton. That's a little bit more juicy now that Everton just smashed Brighton 5-1 at the Amex. Have a little bit of confidence, have Goodison behind them. One more positive result here could see them pretty much safe for the season. So yeah, that's a very tasty one. That is one where you circle and you say City could drop points in that one, given that it's sandwiched between the Champions League ties as well. With an Everton scarf on, I imagine. Mhm. And remember what good old Sean Dyche did to Arsenal when they went to Goodison. Got it right completely. So yeah, it's yeah, yeah, yeah. You love the logistics of these matchups. Not many, but these are professionals. Hopefully, they've got their rest the night before. They're ready to go the next day. No, I get your point. Logistics can sometimes play a role in this. Sure. On the bench. We're into this under 11s game are we going? Well, adults need less sleep though, and they can manage themselves. Anyway, yep, of course. I think so. Oh no, Serie A. There was a game this morning, and there was. Oh, I watched this one. I watched this one. There was also a game in League One, which I didn't get to watch because I was televised. But Lons beat Rem. Will the thrill stills Rem, and they. I saw like the match events. They got Kevin Danto sent off after 19 minutes, and they're still able to win after going 1-0 down after that fact. So that's a huge win for them under those circumstances as well. No surprises to say Seiko Fofana scores another goal. He is truly Captain Fantastic doing his best Stevie G impression over there. But man, that's a huge result for them. I was a bit worried about their potential over celebration after the Marseille game. So for them to back it up in adverse circumstances to win that game and consolidate their position as second with what 4 games left, 3 games left, 3 games left. So yeah, they've put themselves in the box office. Unfortunately, we should expect PSG to beat Ajaccio at home this weekend. So we still don't expect much of a title race, and you'd still expect Marseille to beat Angers at home as well. So I don't think they're going to extend their gap, but at least they consolidate it and they stay in second under somewhat dramatic in dramatic conditions. But I didn't get to watch it, like I said, which is bullshit because I would have liked to see how they did it. But the Lazio Lecce game this morning was not without its drama. I probably celebrated Lecce missing their first half penalty more than I've celebrated anything in football this season because it was one of those ones that I've been talking about where the attacker just sort of steps across the defender running in a straight line, stays there, and then waits for the defender to bundle into them and they get a penalty for it. I just can't stand that decision ever being given. I hate it. I think it should be a foul on the attacking player, to be quite honest, when they don't even get a touch or control the ball. So, just a dumb thing. I hate seeing it. But they missed that penalty. But ultimately, it didn't really matter for Lazio because they were still pretty terrible in this game. And they probably deserved to lose on the balance of it. They did have a power play late. They were pretty ineffective with their power play until Milinkovic Savic popped up with a last gasp equaliser. How important that goal is, maybe it will be important come the end of the season to pick up this point. Like I said, they have the tiebreaker over Milan, so even if they lost this game, Milan couldn't overtake them this week because they're still 3 points behind them. But Inter can overtake them now. They missed a chance to overtake Juve into second, and in their last 5, they are stumbling. And like I keep saying, this isn't uncharacteristic of a Maurizio Sarri team. Now, I feel for Maurizio Sarri because I think his tactical, what he's brought to this team tactically, is probably the chief reason why they are in the position they're in. Because Ciro Immobile hasn't been that good this season, because I think Sergei Milinkovic-Savic has been better in previous seasons. For that fact that your 2 star players aren't playing their best football, I think you should give credit to Maurizio Sarri for getting them this far. But you can also criticize Maurizio Sarri because Maurizio Sarri teams, when they come under pressure, they seem to get a little bit more emotional They seem to lose their cool a little bit more, and they just seem to. I don't want to say crack under the pressure because, like I keep saying, he has somewhat rewritten that in winning a Serie A title that might be a better Serie A title than it looked at the time with Juve, given it's the last one I think they've won. And obviously Ronaldo aging and whatnot, and he also did win the Europa League with Chelsea, so he somewhat reversed that. But we are seeing things that we've tended to criticize from Sarri teams before, and maybe lack of mental fortitude, and this game sort of exemplified it. They're gonna. It was so important for them to bounce back, but they weren't able to. And look, they're still in a good position to finish top four. But they need to buck their ideas very quickly. They need to find a reserve. They need to find a composure. And they need to see this thing out because they are saved somewhat that Milan have to play against Juve in the run-in, and Inter still have Napoli and Atalanta in the run-in. So tough games, but man, this result this morning at home against Lecce as well is a really poor one. And the way they played, they can't be too happy. And the way they're starting to concede goals now after being such a solid defense is quite worrying at such a crucial stretch of the season. And they are the only team going for this top four that do not have European football anymore. So yeah, bitterly disappointed given that they should be rested. They should be winning that game. And in all honesty, we'd probably maybe not because it comes in between the European ties for all of these teams, but we'd probably expect every team around them to win their fixtures this weekend. I don't think any of them have anything particularly treacherous this weekend, but we know how poor Milan are without key players, so maybe there's a chance they drop points. Roma, they might have their eyes turned, like we keep saying. Same for Juve, they might be a bit depleted after the midweek exertion. And obviously Inter had to put a lot into beating Milan as well. Well, maybe not as much as they expected, but they still had to put something into beating them. So there is a chance. There you go. But Juve also have to lose as well, don't they? So yeah. So look, look, we can't say we expect all of those teams to win because of how inconsistent they've been in the league, and like I say, how distracted they might be. But yeah, they would be heavy favourites in all of those games. So what could be a really bad draw at home for Lazio this morning. Yeah, I believe it's three because you had you. Oh no, they won in between their two trips to San Siro. They won at home against Empoli or someone. I can't remember exactly who, but they've lost three of the last five. Yeah, yeah, not good. Yeah, Inter are looking very solid to secure a top four spot. But when you say that, that's when Inter strike with their inconsistency. So, but no, the momentum. They're definitely the team in the best form going for this thing right now. Bundesliga, we should probably expect the top two to win, but there is Union against Freiburg, which is crucial. Leipzig go at the end of the weekend. I think they play against Werder. Probably expect them to win. That good, especially given that Leipzig seem to have found something in recent weeks. But yeah, that Union Freiburg game is huge for those two because that's nearly a playoff at this stage of the season, is it not? So, and you know what? I don't think anyone's showing it over here, which I just cannot for the life of me understand why. It's the only game of real substance in the Bundesliga this weekend, and I won't get to watch it. It's madness. I can't believe I can't watch that game. I can't believe I couldn't watch the Lodz game this morning as well. So oh well, it is what it is. We'll see what the result is. To be honest, they're not the most watchable teams in Europe. Freiburg and Union Berlin. So you're watching it just for the stakes, maybe not the quality of football. But yeah, and obviously we'll pay attention to Bayern and Dortmund because you never know when either one of them could slip up in this run in. So squeaky bum time, as they say. And obviously that's a derby in itself. Which, no, they're not. Well, just the fact that Barca have the chance to win the title this weekend. A win will see them win it. You expect Atletico to beat Elche, so you'd think it will take a win. Are they playing Espanyol as well, or is it Getafe? I can't. It is so. Yeah, they could win it on the enemy's soil. So yeah, that's the only thing of note from La Liga, though. They could actually have it wrapped up this weekend. Yeah, and just about how many point seven did you say? Yeah, yeah, I'd say they have. Yeah, I think Sociedad have just found enough form at the right moment to fend off pretty feeble challenges from Betis and Villarreal. Villarreal, I don't know. I don't. I must confess, I don't watch Girona every week. So. Yeah, yeah. So they're doing the Villa. No, that was Rayo. Rayo beat Barca. Yeah, good wins. Not, f- not for top four. Not for top four. Girona, that would be crazy. Yeah, but how many points? How many points are they behind? Oh, okay. See, yeah, we shall. But I think that's everything. Look at that, 118. Look at us maturing. Off on a tangent, some weird tangent. We've done too many tangents recently. You've done enough of that this pod. But then I felt it went too far once you got up to like your 3 p.m.s and stuff. I'm like, oh man, this is too late in the day. Well, you'd get that like 16s and 18s sometimes, yeah, on the Sunday rather than the Saturday. I didn't like them as much. They were too late in the day. I didn't love that. There's too much nervous energy just sitting around waiting for kickoff. It's like, fuck, I just want to play. Yeah, and you're always yeah, and you're always at the mercy of the fixtures before you, like, finishing on time as well. Otherwise, sometimes they'd have to cut off, like, minutes off each half because it'll get dark before you finish playing. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is bullshit. Come on. Uh, it's just a lot to organize. I can understand somewhat. So many games in a day. Yeah, to be young again. We didn't have to worry about that. We just had to worry about playing. But I said the other day that I think my chosen superpower would now be time travel. For too long, I've gone with teleportation. I'd love to just be able to teleport anywhere. I think that's a great one, but time travel, I want that. Yeah, who cares? I just want to just go back to simpler days at times. Like, yeah, let's go back to one of those 3 p.m. under 18s kickoffs. Just chilling with my mates. We'll play against some, I don't know, Berwick or something. Who cares? Like, times are easier. So you can pause it and then just, all right, well, if you want to extend that, go and rob a bank, whatever, do all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Rearrange them. I think on that note, on those two great words, fuck casinos. No, I'm good. I'm good with the top four in La Liga being done. I don't need to watch that anymore, so that's good. Maybe a few results to help out my boys Lazio. They're waning. I want Sari in there. I like Sari. Oh man, man, that's terrible.